So, this is my 1974 Michigan motor. It's a Detroit's 353. Screaming Jimmy. You can see Detroit diesel there on the blower. And I got a couple of things going on here. I got to fix a steering cylinder that's leaking pretty good, or repair it. I changed the fuel filters last year, and this is October. I haven't done them this year yet, so they need to be done. I got a new belt ordered because I got a Gates belt. Apparently it's made in China and only lasted about a week. The last one was on there for 25 years, which was also a Gates, so that one was made in the US. But today, right now, what I'm going to do is, I know tons of you out there have seen this a million times, but this is not for you guys. I got a primary and secondary fuel filter here, and secondary and primary, and this one here goes right there in front of my finger, and the secondary goes right here. Primary, first one from the tank. Secondary, second one from the tank before the injectors. For those that wasn't clear. And so basically this is just 3/4 inch wrench, and this is a cartridge type spin on, not a spin on, a cartridge type. Not the same thing, two different things. And I don't always change the seal on the bolt every time, but today we will, because it's looking a little ratty. And of course that all comes in the kit. I'll show you here in a second. It's staying up there pretty good, so we got a good seal there somewhere. And I don't care if a little bit hits the ground, or I do care, but I mean it's unavoidable sometimes. So oh, there we go. Didn't expect to drop that much. And the filter is pretty dirty. I don't know if you can see that very well. There's quite a bit of crud in there. So basically, I've seen it worse. There's some water and a little bit of water in there. I've seen it worse. So, but what we're going to do? Hold on. This is going to be a cut. So, there's enough sediment down there that I'm going to give it a little rinse. Now, these, this particular machine, it's not true of all machines, but this particular machine will not self-prime. These 353s are not known for self-priming these older diesels. If you run them out of fuel, you can have a hell of a time getting them going. So I'm just going to take some fuel here and rinse out that cartridge. And it seems to be, sometimes you got to take a rag or some brake cleaner, but it's just a little bit of sediment. So I got rid of 99% of it. And so they will not self-prime. So what we're going to do is, when you get these filters, okay, there's comes with a little kit, okay. This one here, secondary, is PF906, and comes with several little things, okay. So there's a couple of gaskets for the filter. I don't change it every time, but I didn't change it last time, so I'm going to change it this time. I'm going to change it because I'm doing a video. Because what will happen is they will get hard. And now, if you're changing your filters whenever you're supposed to, they don't get hard that fast. Like, I mean, you know, if you're changing a couple times a year, you can probably use it 2 or 3 or 4 times in a row, and you'll be just fine. Other fellows will tell you to change them every time, and if you're doing that, you're not doing anything wrong, you know. But you know, I haven't over the years. I've been at this a long time and I haven't had any issue. This one would have sealed again too, but anyway, there's the seal. And it's still rubbery. But for the sake of video, I will change it because it's, you know. Now, I mean, sometimes these are in a harder place than this is. This is very easy to get at. And we'll just take another seal. Oh, dunk it. And a bit of fuel. Make sure there's no dirt on it. And there's a groove up in there. I'm not going to video the groove because if you look up there and you can't identify the groove, you probably shouldn't be at this anyway. And most of the people watching this have done this, I'm sure, many, many times and don't need my instructions. So then the bolt on this one here has a seal. They all come with some kind of a seal. And you can see the seal after a couple of times it starts to fail. Okay. Just focusing on that because. And so I gotta get my pick. So the sometimes the seal sticks. So be careful not to cut yourself. Take the Dolphin blade and just go like that, and it should. There we go. There we go. Pop out like so. Get down here. Must be a little bit stubborn. There we go. There, it's gone. And so when you change out these, like I say, they come with several. There's a washer, there's your orange seal like I'm using, there's a cork. Whatever's on your machine, the filter housing, because these filter housings are what's different, not the filters. Like, I mean, as far as these cartridge type go. I mean, a spin on is easy, you just knock it off and put it back on. But anyway, like I was saying earlier, I just put this back on, okay? And then that's ready to go back in. So then I'm going to take the filter, and you see that it's rinsed out, it's clean as it needs to be. That's a spring in the bottom, okay? It doesn't matter which way it goes in, okay? And when you tighten it up, it's going to push down against a spring on the bottom, and a spring on the top, and force fuel through the filter. So anyway, oops, dropping wrenches. Anyway, we can only go as far as the ground. These old engines will not self-prime. If you get one that self-primes, you just won the lottery. You're lucky. Good for you. And it's probably the biggest reason I'm making this video. You have to refill. If it's a spin-on or a cartridge like this, doesn't matter. You have to refill the thing with fuel. And if a little tiny bit of air gets in there, and you know, it'll probably work. But you want it as full to the top as you can get it, and this is why I wear these, because I don't mind oil and grease on my hands, but it just stinks. Over the years ago, I used to like the smell. I don't like it anymore. You put it back on, and you screw down the bolt. Okay, and then now the spring is, you can feel the spring tension, and you put it back on. It's dripping a bit. Now, if you're one of these guys that's going to talk to me about fuel hitting the ground, go watch somebody else's channel. The fuel came from the ground. If it hits the ground, you know, I try to keep it and reuse it and this and that, but it's not something I lose sleep over. If a little bit of fuel hits the ground, I mean, I don't want to spill buckets of it on the ground, and mostly because it's too damn expensive. But all these machines leak. Even if they're brand new, if they're not leaking, they soon will be. As careful as we are, I've been at this, and years ago I tried everything to try and be as careful as possible to keep the fuel from off the ground, and you're just wasting your time. So if you catch 90 or 95% of it and can recycle it or put it in a furnace or whatever you're going to do, dispose of it properly, great. But if some of it hits the ground, you know, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So don't fret over a little bit of fuel. Like you know, it's not the end of the world. They're way safer than the lithium batteries in the Teslas. So, and no 5-year-olds mind this fuel for me. Actually, I'm in Eastern Canada, so this fuel probably all came from Saudi Arabia. Nobody minded. They just opened a damn tap. But, so, there we go. Nice and snug. I don't know what the foot-pounds are. Check it for your machine. I go till I know it's not going to leak. I've just been doing this so long. I'm comfortable with that. It's probably a little too tight, but I'd rather too tight than too loose. So, that's how you change a cartridge filter, okay? The old filter, I'll put it in here after and let it drain out a bit, and I'll dispose of it here at, there's a depot for this just down the road from me, not far away, so I can dispose of them pretty easily. It's probably going to end up at the landfill like everything else, because like half our recyclables do. So anyway, I'm going to do the same thing with this filter in here, and on this particular machine, the engine oil filter is right here. And this makes a hell of a mess when you take this off. This needs to be changed soon too. It comes off from right here on the end. And it comes off this way. And it's there's no spin-on filters on this machine. So, there was a coolant filter that somebody had put on that didn't come with the machine, and I took it back off because it's just painful. I don't care about filtering coolant. And the hydraulic oil filters are up here, and they're cartridges as well. So, so that's how you change it. Like I say, these machines, these old 353s, they will not burn air. They will not self-prime. If you get one to do it, like I say, you've been very, very fortunate. Make sure you prime it. Machine needs a bit of oil, probably about 2 liters, but anyway. So make sure you fill whether it's a spin-on type, because I mean this is what came with it. Now some of these have been adapted over to a spin-on cartridge. I've seen lots of them like that, and that's fine. But still, fill it up. I mean, if you got a 6-liter Ford, which is a piece of shit engine, but it'll self-prime. It's a powerful engine and it's running, but keeping it running is another thing. So a lot of the newer diesels and this now will self-prime. But if you're working on these old machines, forget it. They're not going to, if you run out of fuel and you hear this machine dying because you run out of fuel, stop it. Because next thing you're going to know, you're going to have to put air in the tank, open everything back here, pressurize the tank, and try and force air back through it. Because you'll turn this over and turn this over and turn this over till you're blue in the face, and you will not self-prime this machine. The injectors in this will not pump air. So that's the most important thing. I mean, I know a ton of you guys out there know this already. But if you're out there and you're younger or you're new to equipment, you're buying an older machine like this, it'll do a lot of work. This machine is a 1974. It's done more work for me than... With a gallon of fuel with this is like 20 guys for a week, what this will do with a gallon of fuel. Like it'll do a pile of work. Actually, with today's guys, with their phone apps, it's probably like 60 guys. But anyway, 20 men that are actually working. So... but if you don't fill that, and I've 3 or 4 guys lately, friends of mine, local guys, and this and that, I'm going up there changing their fuel filters. They can't get their machines going, and they did not fill this before they put it back in. Now, some of these filters, the bolt goes on through the bottom and seals on the bottom. Okay, so when you're done, there's a hole on the top on a lot of them that you have to open to fill them. This one here bolts from the top, and this one bolts from the top. So it doesn't work that way. Now these valves on the bottom that are supposed here to drain off water, they don't work anyway. So on some they do. You can open them up and if there's a bit of water, you can get rid of it. But so that's the important thing. If there's nothing else you take from this, if you think everything else I said was bullshit, that's fine. But don't try and start this machine if you're out of fuel. If you're dying, if the machine is dying while you're working it, check your fuel level. If it's low, put fuel in it right away before you cause yourself. Because I've ran this out of fuel. I've had somebody run it out of fuel, and I've ran it out of fuel. Hasn't happened very often. It's happened once or twice. And one time we got it going very quickly. The other time it was, and I've been a diesel mechanic license since 1990, and it took hours to get this contrary bastard going. So, I mean, it's the same thing as if you're filling something with engine oil. On this one, you can't do it. It doesn't work that way. But, I mean, when you're putting in a new oil filter in something, you fill it so that the engine gets oil right away. You're not starving the engine with oil. This machine, you cannot starve it for fuel. It'll die. So, I hope somebody finds that helpful. If you're so inclined, Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And if you've watched this far, I really appreciate you taking the time. If you have any constructive criticism or comments, I'd love to hear from you. And I try to respond to everybody in a timely fashion. Have a great day. Cheers.